Um, hmm. Now, well, build on the importance of politics. Like a lot of times in
Yes.
our nation, we don't really mix too well with politics, right? But you know, if you're not involved with politics, you'll most likely be put in control under somebody who it does have knows the science of politics. So can you build on that? How you see your mindset in terms of politics and in particular this nation and why a lot of times we may stray away from politics. Although the man himself, the law, dealt with
Yes.
politics, but a lot of us, don't deal with politics.
Yeah. I would say a lot of it may be to do with historically maybe it might be just an individual personal thought process as it goes. I haven't really heard of any national or any of our nation's national stance on politics. I've did research where I've kind of come to my own understanding and I've built with different brothers and sisters about it. So from my view, we do have a lot of brothers and sisters who are actively involved in politics inside their community. They're actively involved in a lot of different things relating to politics. Then you have brothers and sisters who may have the viewpoint that politics is not something that members of the nation of God's nerve, so 5% should deal with, that is somehow,
It's like a white man thing,
yeah,
right?
some type of superstitious
Mm-hmm.
thing where it can somehow be problematic if you get yourself involved with it. I have something that I coined myself. I call it the ostrich syndrome, where people seem to be under the impression that if they just ignore it, they just turn away from it, that it somehow won't be able to touch them. Now, this becomes dangerous when you are speaking about politics. One, because if we take that stance, then that means there's less people to advocate for the school policies. That means our children are under the policies of not everybody in the community. We all agree, well, we should all agree that everybody's voice matters, everybody's voice counts, that we're all equal, we all have some type of equity amongst ourselves, and that your build is as important as my build is as important as a 5-year-old's build or a 10-year-old or a 14-year-old. Now, when you don't involve yourself in politics, you're taking your own voice away.
Mm.
So now, instead of it being 1,000 people voting to get funding for your child's school or the school inside your community to ensure that the children in your community have positive things to engage in. So now let's say you don't vote, so they don't get the funding. So instead of these children having a recreation center that you literally have the power to vote or to just literally ask your local city council people to do these type of things, if we turn a blind eye, then a lot of times they don't even know that there may be a need in the community, so they don't put that community center, and now you have dozens of your community youth roaming the streets because you didn't vote to put a community center for them to have a safe place to stay. That's just one example of how involving ourselves in the political process can not only help you, but it can literally save the lives of our youth.
Mm.
And when I say this, money is not the solution to everything, but our local elected officials have something called discretionary funding.
Mm.
This discretionary funding is available to anyone who has a valid use for it,
Mm.
anyone who asks for it to be given. So it's not necessarily that you ask for money to be given to you. You may say, hey, there's a not-for-profit down the block that can you please send some funding so that they can help plant more gardens in our neighborhood. They can help with recreational centers. They can help do several things. Now, if we don't involve ourselves in the political process, we kind of eliminate our ability to affect change on certain levels. Yes, we can still be in our neighborhoods, be a part of our neighborhoods, and still be fully involved in our community members, but we need to also maybe start looking at how effective can we be if we start to channel some funding and start to be able to literally have control of what happens in our neighborhoods. where you're the person who decides how the city resources are administered, where shelters go, where schools go, where community food banks go. Now, if we have the right people in the right place at the right time, then I think that we will start to see a lot of the right things being done. And politics is an avenue to allocate resources to different communities where it's set up for us to at least come to some type of conclusion about how we're going to work together. And politics is one way that was established, at least in this country, as for us to work together, or as an avenue for everyone to work together.
Right. I think a lot of times the disconnect is, you have local politics, and then you have the federal politics, like the big
Yes.
the big show, the big entertainment of the presidential elections, and then you're voting. A lot of times, the Democratic versus Republican, and the ideology of that, and you think you're being liberal, you're trying to liberate the minds of the people,
Yes.
and then really what you're really is getting further away from certain family values. And then a lot of what the president is doing, there's a disconnect with the actual local people, right? So us not having a grip of our local politics, a lot of times takes us out of the discussion on those higher, the federal politics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of it has to do with the lack of knowledge, and the lack of knowledge winds up being a disconnect for us as a people.
Yes.
To trying to like I said, this election, you had the polarity of do you want a black woman as a president, or you don't want a black woman? You don't want a woman running your show, period. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Trump is actually the one who is going to get us money, or is he really, or is he really? So these are the things that I think that we are disconnected as a whole, as a people.
Yeah.
What are some solutions that you think that could help us to have more of a dog in this fight, in terms of politically?
I think, as you just brought up, I think it's a lack of knowledge that caused, like you said, the disconnect or the gap.
Mm-hmm.
I think that knowledge is going to be a solution to solve this problem. So I think that those who are the best knowers, or those who do know about this field, I think it's our responsibility to kind of born some of that science to our brothers and sisters. And again, I'm extremely careful on how we go forward with this, because this is all personal choice. We never want to take away anybody's autonomy. Like, we don't force anybody to do anything, even with knowledge itself. This is a choice. Everything is a choice. What we have to do is, once we do have the knowledge, we do have a responsibility as well. So let's not ignore the fact that once you do come under knowledge itself, we have a responsibility to teach. We have the responsibility to uplift those around us. If we see a way to do it and we willingly choose not to, then you're kind of not doing your duty in a certain way. Whether it's your personal preference, whatever the reason is, if you literally see that there's a way to make improvements, but for whatever your personal issue is with it, you choose not to, then that's part of why we see some of the unmet needs that we see. Is because 2 votes is more effective than 1. So, like to say, for example, I have my 1 vote, and I see what needs to be done. It counts, yes. But collectively, if we was to all kind of see what needs to be done, and we all decided that we know who needs to do it, and we stood behind that person and linked our resources and our efforts towards, then that individual can make a collective change. And if we all know, if we all are if we all adhere to supreme mathematics and our cultural tenets, then what one does, we all do. Where one go, we all go. Allah is seen and heard everywhere for a reason. And it's because we all are doing our job in our respective spaces, our respective community. Now, it does also still come to the point we all still need to come together for one common cause and show that we can. And I think that us doing that, well, not I think, it's an actual fact that us doing that, we can not only change the course of what's happening in our country, but the world. The president has mostly the powers to deal with foreign affairs, make treaties, and things of that nature. Imagine you or one of us in that role, spreading love, peace, and happiness, and educating our own families of planet Earth for the world. So the more of us that's on the world stage, the more power it gives us to do our duty. And if we have the ability to do it on a large scale, then I think it's our responsibility to do so.
You must do your own research, as I did.
INFMEGA did this.